Okay, the first of these scenarios is Venice at Bay 1509, and this is going to start April 4th. Or I guess April turn 4, and we got a beginning date for each of the scenarios, etc. on there. And it's going to run through 9 turns, which puts us to here for the end date. So we've got a couple of supply turns, and they're recorded here. Let's see. Venice has had some military successes. If you play Europa Universal, sometimes they expand themselves in Europe, in Italy, hence causing this kind of situation. They don't have to. And a large coalition of France, the Empire, Spain, and the Church decided to contest against Venice. And here Louis XII assembles an army and launches it against the Venetian Petigliano. Okay. And the Venetians basically managed to hold their own in this against a more powerful enemy. The French win a standard victory if Cremona is over here. And 3 of the following 4 towns are owned by the French and not besieged: Treviglio, Cavaggio, Rivolta, and Bandino. And what kind of... This is one of them, I think. It's hard to read. I've got the hex numbers here, 2736. Yeah, that's not it. I have trouble seeing. Here's Caviglio. Anyway, a few of those spaces, but the important one is Cremona down here, and some things between. Front side wins a strategic victory if they get the standard victory, and also Crema, Brescia, and Bergamo are conquered by the French. Now Crema is over here. I don't know about the others. The Venetians win a standard victory if no French occupy a fortress east of the Adda River. What's this? Fiume's River. And north of the Po, unless besieged by Venetians. Any other result is a draw. We have to pick our supply sources. The French have a bunch of primary and secondary roads heading this way. Now, there's a special rule here about supply. The French have to add 30 hexes to the length of their line of communications, because their real supply source is back further across the board. We've got a power problem here. I didn't manage to charge overnight. I made a quick swap of batteries. That's one advantage of having to buy all these damn cameras is, well, now I can just swap batteries and not use the lousy new one that I bought that I hate. Yeah, that was $100 and something down the drain. It was cheap, man. Okay. So what else do we have here of any importance? The Venetians have a bunch exiting east north of the Po River, and again, I just have to pick the one that's closest but not under threat, and that'll take some difficulty there. We have the deployments all set up. So Louis has a bunch of subordinates. He's the Capitano General here. Petigliano is here. He's got a bunch under him. But there are also, in both cases, some loose ones. I've got their orders assigned for the Primo Capitani. So for example, this guy's maneuvering. I don't have the French set up as cleverly, so with the Venetians I have all of Pitigliano's folk, his subordinates under him. Here looks to me like Louis' subordinates is this line here, but that can shift during the game, and I don't want to be shifting my cards all around, so it doesn't matter too much. There'll be no reinforcements coming in. There's some breakdown units that I have here for both sides, in case they desire that. Swiss units are going to be considered very sensitive. Venetians cannot enter a hex west of the Adda and south of the Po. Precise orders were issued to the Capitani of the Republic not to take an offensive role unless with high hopes and under strict necessity. Both. These instructions were obeyed and welcomed by Pitigliano. The force whose primo capitano is Pitigliano may not enter a hex adjacent to an enemy force unless 2 of the 4 towns, Treviglio, Caravaggio, Rivolta, and Pandino, or any city in regions C, V, and R. And I don't want to hunt all the towns down, I'm sorry. So I'm not going to have a good view of what's going on in this game, because there are no markers for these towns that are of importance. That's a pity. I may make some. C and R here, V is here. So if anything back there falls, I'm freed up, and certain other towns. And then, let's see, 2 of the 4 removes the limit, the attack limitations. So there's a regional alignment. Milan and Girodada, M and G, are pro-French. Now you can see the G area is filled with Venetian units. That's why there's these conquer markers to indicate that the Venetians have taken territory that's not friendly to them. Crema is Venetian, that region up there around the town, as well as the core of the Republic of Venice. The core of the Republic of Venice is the V area, which is up here. And what? All other regions are not aligned, which means some of the R regions have, some of the R cities have conquered markers to indicate that the Venetians have taken those. Now, those are not aligned. Okay, yeah, there's no neutrals, so we don't have to worry about pure neutrals. Okay, and so Treviglio, Caravaggio, blah, 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 these are all conquered by the Venetians, so, you know, kind of the French goal is going to be to take things that the Venetians hold. And I'm not going to worry too much about the victory conditions beyond hunting these chits. And of course things like Crema that I can remember. But a whole list of cities that aren't marked on the map by any other means I'm not going to worry about. So if there's anything important to the French that isn't held by the Venetians, hey, too bad they're not going to find it. And if there's anything... What is this guy doing down here? No way. I bet you he is too. Yeah. Neat. If there's anything, any of these Venetian cities that aren't important to the French, I probably will go after them by accident, because the only markings I have from the game are provided by the control counters. And if they don't drive my play, I don't know what is, but I'm, you know, counting on the game providing me with what I need, and I'm hoping those counters do so. If they don't, well, I'll have to start coming up with other ways of dealing with these scenarios, but hopefully I don't have to worry about that. All right, well, we'll start in a little while. It's gonna, you know, facing a new system of this complexity is always tough. And when I walk away from the rules as, kind of, well, what the fuck did I just read? You know, as I did with these, and I read them for the third time to you. My morale towards actually playing goes way down. We'll see if we can get started on a scenario today. God knows. Grouchies aside, the main victory conditions for the French are Cremona and these four. Yeah, I looked them up. The other additional victories are Crema, Brescia, 2849, way back here, and Bergamo, 3436. Up here. That's a pretty extreme set. What I have to take right now, though, is I do have to take Cremona, and I have this guy in place to do that. Looks like he's going to have an easy time of grabbing that because it's undefended. So, let's get started, I guess. And we need to find a sequence of play. We have the combat sequence of plays here, but I don't think we have a regular sequence except in the rulebook. Weather phase. Alright, let's look up weather. Okay, so I guess we have to roll. I gotta get me some dice. Alright. Maybe we'll mellow out and start having fun or something. So we are in the month of April. And we roll a quick die. We got a better thing here, but I don't want to move these. 5 in April looks like mud. Yeah. Okay. Little weather marker. There's a place to put that. And this is going to be movement allowances are reduced. March attrition has a +1 roll to the roll. And artillery fire and cav charges are going to be reduced, as is regular combat. Okay. I'll try to remember all that. I mean, it's baked into the charts, I think, but not the movement. Command phase. Who's first player? I think it must be the French because they were listed first in the scenario, but... So, we're not on a yellow turn. So we don't give them extra points. We have to designate the supply source. I gotta figure that out. I'll be back. Basically, the long list of instructions in the scenario listing was all the roads along this side. This is the obvious one. Is right next to Louis to begin with. Yes, I may move it, but... And for the Venetians, a little harder, but it's all the ones north of the Po on this side of the board. And this one turns out, I think, to be the shortest, although... If we want to operate into Cremona, which is necessary for victory for the French, then this might end up being a little bit more efficient, but we'll see. It's not that big a deal either way. Okay. So we flip back through the rule book to find the sequence of play. I can't believe there's not a sequence of play. All these charts... And they don't give me a sequence of play. Yeah. All these charts, do we want another one? Yeah, okay. But still, sequence of play is really important to me. And to anyone playing a game. Organization so designate a supply source. Great. We did that. Activate or deactivate minor capitani. What's up with that? Okay. So this is weird. I gotta find that because under activation, activation of Capitani happens down here, not up here. If I wanna launch an unnamed leader. Okay. Yeah, screw that. Transfer combat units. I think we're fine. Strength points. Issue or reissue orders to the Capitani on the map. And at this point, I have to figure out what each guy is going to do. This is going to take some time. I have orders in place. I would have to pay to get additional orders. So, for example, Louis XII has stand orders. He's kind of the guy I need to do things with. But we're looking at higher attrition this turn. I'm wondering, gee, do I want to go into quarters this turn? But I'm under a time limit to succeed in my scenario. Oh boy, I don't know. I'm going to have to think. Okay, so the problem here is I'm basically stuck fighting with one hand behind my back because my current orders, Chaumont here has attack orders from here. Robertin has maneuver orders, which will be sufficient to get me Cremona, and that's fine. But Louis could use orders, but here's the problem. Louis is a major force. If I give him attack or maneuver orders, that's going to run me 4, and right now I'm on stand orders, -1. That's going to cost me 3 of my action points, okay? I only have 5. Next action point phase, over here, I get maybe 4 of them. And the further away I am from my supply source, and remember I add 30 to that, the harder it's going to be. But still, he's the guy I want moving. You know, I want him to overrun some of this shit. So I'm going to spend my points to upgrade him from stand to attack. Suffer attrition or whatever. It seems necessary for him to move forward. Okay. Now, for the other player, let's see, did I do everything? Yeah. For the other player, does he want to reorganize? I don't see any other reorganization, but let's take a look at our leaders. Likewise, my main force is just standing there. I don't know if that's reasonable, again, for the same reasons. My other force is only Alviano has maneuver. Now that could be enough to get him to Cremona, maybe. If I move from maneuver, and he'd be a minor force, to attack, it would just cost me 1. There's no reduction to any of those minor forces. I feel like I need this guy to be at least in maneuver status, but there's higher attrition for this. Oh, I don't know. And then, just to make things more fun, remember I'm playing with the optional rules, I could throw him into quarters. I think that's dumb at this point in the game. So, I think quarters makes more sense when you're playing a longer game, if you want to last through the winter or whatever. But I do have the stupid mud, which causes more problems, so it might be worth throwing him in. Does Garrison do anything for me? I can recover. I'm not likely to take any. Attrition is going to do actual casualties, I think. Yeah, there's actual numbers there. I may want to throw him into quarters to preserve his force. Probably wanted to do that with the French too in that case, but let's take a look at the quarters rolls. See if we can find I can just enter quarters. And how do I get out? Any command phase. Yeah, I think I'm going to put my main force in quarters and save myself the attrition roll this turn. Now that is a fortified town, so that'll give me a -1 on the attrition, so that's kind of cool. So I'm letting the French have the initiative, but there's mud. Okay. And you know, I mean, we're testing out the system on the first couple of games of this, so I'm not too worried about screwing up, although I hate to do so. Now we're going to go to activation. There's no reinforcements available. We indicate a Capitano on the map that we wish to activate. And the higher the initiative, the more opportunity we have. Well, for me, I want to activate him. He's got a 2 initiative. And since I'm the first player, I have to announce first. And you know, if that's what he's doing, I want Alvano against him with his big 4 initiative. The player rolls a die, subtracting the result from the initiative. Order adjacent, let's see. Do we have a list of all the modifiers to initiative? Probably not. So these guys both have maneuver. I don't think they're going to have any modifiers to their initiative. Pink is going to be my Venetians. And we want low rolls here. This is subtracted from your initiative rating. So the French got a 6. Now, what's weird here, okay, so I do remember this number. The reduction of the movement point, not just from when I mentioned it in the rules, but I remember it from before actually, because I was considering, wow, whose die roll gets reduced? So I have a -1 here. If I hit Roquebertin with a -6, he has a -4 to his movement, I think, which means he won't be able to move at all. But what's not clear to me is whether it's the -1 or -6 which takes effect, so we're going to have to look that up. I'll be back. Now here's how it's worded. The activated Capitano may do any action allowed by the current order. The activation die roll is subtracted from the Capitano's modified initiative. What's not specified is whose activation die roll. The Venetian activation die roll, well, I better move my Venetians. The French one, well, I gotta, he's not gonna, you know, I kind of might want to trigger him because he won't be able to move then. With a -4 to his die roll, well, these guys have a movement of 7, these guys have a 5. I can't just split off a minor at this point, so I would be able to move 1 movement point. I also have to look at the terrain chart and see how far I can get. So this is a primary road and the other one's a secondary road. Primary roads cost 0.5 on an E, with an extra point for passing through the fortress if I do that, whereas secondary roads only cost 1. So these guys, Alvano here, he has a movement allowance of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's not going to make it. So clearly I would like to hit the French and force them to take the activation if they use their activation die roll. But if they use mine, no, because then I just hand him the space. The only hint I have for this is determine the activating player note. The winning player must carefully evaluate if it's better to let his opponent go and maybe compel him to a poor activation or go himself for an activation. But if the rolls were something like this, I would be compelling the loser to a poor activation as well. But I think I'm going to use his own die roll. So he's at 6 off of his, so he's got -4 off his movement. He can only move 1 movement point, which he'll do because he wants to make sure he gets somewhere. And we'll put this here with him to indicate he's done his first activation. And now we cycle to that same position again. Now, who goes first is the only question. The player who just terminated the activation. So the French have to make their first pick again. Now, if I pick this guy and he picks this guy, chances are this guy will get the initiative again because this guy's got a penalty for second activation. His initiative drops by 1. So it's even less likely he'll end up with the initiative. However, if I don't pick this guy might be able to kind of trump in for free. So I'm going to pick him. We're going to pick him. And we roll again. And this time the rolls are 4 for the French off of now oh Jesus, I had the wrong initiative numbers there. Hold on, he was a 1 -5 is, or -6 is -5. He actually didn't have any movement. So we'll put him back. Okay. So now his initiative is a 0. I read the numbers in the wrong order. -4. So he's got a -4. So he would get that 1 movement point. Whereas this guy has only a 3 initiative, -5. That would give him -2 to movement. He's going to force Robert to go again. And he's going to move this time, even though he doesn't get in there, in order to get the advantage of, look, this guy may not make it on his initiative rolls or whatever. So, you know, we're kind of testing out the system here, and we're not sure how much it's going to let us move. That was a second activation. I believe that requires an attrition check. And these are the later attritions, but I have to take an attrition right on the second activation if I'm correct. I'll be back in a moment to make sure that I'm understanding that correctly. Okay, so it would kind of neat if there was some kind of reminder right on the counter, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it could be done easily, like a big A on it for anarchy. I don't know. All right, so my leader bonus. I don't have a leader bonus on. Who is this? Roque Burton. Weather is going to be +1. +1 for second activation. That's +2. Okay. Mountain, heath, swamp, pillage, or devastated. I don't know what kind of terrain I'm in here. It does. This is heath. This is just clear. Oh, that looks scary. That's woods. This is swamp. So I've got like 1 bad terrain. I'm okay. I'm not in what counts as barren land. Unhealthy if you're actually in a marsh or swamp. Okay. So, how big is my force? My force is 8 strength points, so I'm on the small side, and I have +2 for weather and for second activation. And I roll a total of 3, which you can see does nothing. You got to have a fairly big force to be affected by attrition badly, and that's similar to most of the Zucker designs. Is you split your force up into little foraging parties, and they're okay, you know. Okay, well, I think it's time for a little break. The French, having been forced to go before, they have the initiative still and have to make the next choice. I feel like I'd like to get Louis forward, so I'm going to propose him. He's got a 3 initiative. For the Venetians, he's in quarters. He's not going anywhere. I might be able to dig in or something, though. So that's a possibility. But I think I'm going to put Alvano up there again with his 3 initiative. So we both have 3s this time. Okay. So I really do not, the French don't particularly want this. Well, it's not a bad roll. It gives me my full movement points. But I can hit Alvano with this -6. So that gives him -3 movement points. So we'll hit him with that. He has a base movement point allowance of 5, it looks like. -3 gives him 2. And that hits him with an activation marker, making him a tougher call. Now, if I don't take a second activation with him, he's not gonna, he won't take an attrition for that, but he won't necessarily get a second activation, which is to say, if, say, all the French leaders play out, then this guy has already taken an activation, so he doesn't get an automatic move coming forward. So he becomes kind of an interesting choice for my next move. Now, I've got the initiative at this point over here with the Venetians, and I got to decide, do I want that second activation? If I get it, my initiative's only at 2 now. How far could I go? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to make it all the way there. On the other hand, if I'm close, I might be able to make it next round. So I'm going to pick him for my next activation as well. The French will go with Louis again, because I kind of want to get him up there, but we'll see. Okay. Another big roll. I'm going to hit him with that activation. So he takes, he's got a 2 initiative, -6 is -4. He only gets 1 movement point. He might as well take it because he's going to be hit with the initiative, with the attrition check anyhow. His attrition check is 3, 6, and 16 is 22. Which is going to put him on this row. He's got +1 for weather, +1 for second activation. Then I have to worry about this crap, because this is Heath. 1, 2. He's only next to 2 of them. It needs to be 4 to be a problem. So +2 to the die roll. He gets a 4. Looks like he's just barely okay. Whew. And that gives us the dice again. Okay, so now we're going to pick Tigliano, who's in quarters. He can't move, but he still has a 2 initiative. And the French will take Louis with his 3. Okay, Louis gets a terrible roll. Tigliano has a 0 total, whereas Louis has a -3. We're going to hit Louis with the -3. And I'm really not sure, because if this was just a -2 here, I'm not sure I'm doing this right or wrong. I don't know what the activation die roll is, right? Is the activation die roll the die roll of the winning player? In which case I've been doing this entirely wrong. it just feels like I'm so much playing the let the other guy go but not give him a very good turn. So -3 to the movement allowance. We have these 5 movement allowance units, so we only get 2 movement points. But Louis got a big road. Oh, I'm forgetting about an effect of mud, am I not? It's an extra movement point for every goddamn hex. See if we can find the weather rolls. There is, I think, no index, but there, yeah, here's an index. Cool. I hadn't seen it. 27. Okay. Indices are important to me. I hadn't seen it because it's behind, you know, I'm used to the GMT style where the scenarios are like in their own little booklet and you don't have to worry about it. Okay, no, I'm just lazy. Subtract 1 from the movement allowance of each unit. So everything actually moved slower. Let's, he failed to move. Okay, so we had 1, 2, we actually only have 1. We get a first activation on him. Okay. And that's going to put us over to the French side of things. And I'm going to have to change batteries. So this is a good point for a break. Okay, so, excuse me. The French have the first choice. I'm going to pick Chaumont here. He's got a high initiative at 3 without having gone before. And I guess I'll go with Pigliano again with his 2 initiative. Chaumont, it may not seem so ridiculous. So you see these 2 forces facing me, but they're both very, very weak. Naldi has only 1 strength point, and who's the other one there? Vitali, who has 3. So I'm not facing really huge forces here. And this is Chaumont, who has some 18 strength points. So he has a lot more power and can brush those guys aside, I would say. So I'm not too worried about them. Oh, but I rolled big. That gives me a -3. And Pigliano has also a -3. There's a tiebreaker, which we have to find here. I think it's going to be the initiative. The higher printed initiative decides, and that's Chaumont. Well, this is a pretty lousy roll for both people, so I'm going to hit Pigliano, and he has Pigliano. He has a -3 from his initiative of 2. Or I'm sorry, a -3 to his movement allowance. His slowest movement allowance is a 4. That gives him a 1. It means he can't really do anything. It would take 2 to entrench there, so he gets no action. I don't really want to take a a penalty against I don't want an additional attrition, so I'm not going to pick him again. So now my question really comes down to the 2 remaining characters I have, Naldi and Vitali. Do I want to move either of these out of here, or do I think they have some chance of withstanding a siege? Well, this doesn't look very potent. That's just a town. So I'm gonna make a roll for Naldi. He has no initiative, and we'll continue rolling for Chaumont. Okay, Chaumont ends up at a 2, and Naldi's at negative. Now I could hit Naldi and force him to move. He would be with 2 movement points, and remember 1 point gets taken away due to the mud, but I could withdraw down to Bandino. No, that's too far. I don't really have a lot of benefit being in that town, but I'm going to force him to go, and he's just going to pass. And now Pink is going to say, I'm done. I don't have much more I want to move. Getting Naldi out of the way would have been cool. But now that I'm done, the French get an action with all their people who haven't gone yet, which is really just Chaumont. So I'm going to take care of that, but I need to think a little bit about how he's going to move. I think I just meant load up another pipe. Usually when I say think, it means wander away and do something. Maybe spam online, read a little bit, and then I come back and I'm more refreshed and willing to face the decision making. It's just, I am very avoidant. Okay, so when I look at the rules here, on the remaining Capitanis, when one player's Capitani are all finished, or after one player declines to activate, the opposing player may make 1 activation for each of his remaining Capitani, which would not have been activated in any order he wishes. There doesn't seem to be an initiative roll on these. The people you hold in reserve and don't do anything with, I think, get their full movement allowance. So that movement allowance is still reduced by 1 due to the yuck, the mud. It looks like I have a minimum slowest unit of 5. If I move into there, I stop. It's zone of control. I don't know about these secondary rivers. I think those are unpleasant to cross. It's affecting terrain for combat. To cross costs 2 extra movement points. But I think there's more to it than that. I seem to remember there being a disruption effect for trying to cross a secondary river. And I'm not seeing that on the chart. I may want to actually add that to the chart because I'm not going to remember that. Now, what is this? This is a disruption. When crossing a river, see paragraph 7.6.2.1. Okay, yeah. A major force crossing a river becomes disrupted. A minor force does not, and we don't have that distinguishment here. But this is a minor force, so I could cross the river and launch an attack instead on Rivola. With him outside the fortification, or with him not having any fortifications, that seems better. So I'll move into there. And that's my... I could try to brush him aside, doing a skirmish. If I do that, let's see, that was 1, 2, 3 movement points. I've got like 1 more, which at most would get me into here, and I think it costs another 1 to actually attack. I'm not positive. So I don't see much advantage to launching the skirmish right away. I might be mistaken, because this is just going to be a skirmish anyhow. Let me see. I see the brush aside type combat. I don't remember. Attack from March. Yeah, it would cost me 1 extra movement point to make the attack. So this was 1, 2, 3. I got 1 more now. I can't do that. And now I'm done. I've moved all my units. And I should probably put a first action here. I don't think these have to stay here. I think I could clear them off the map at this point. But let's keep going with the sequence of play. Now we have a joint consolidation. If we were in the same hex with units, we'd have to kind of order them so that they could be in command effectively. Okay, Capitani adjacent to forces with their front side up. I think these guys are. So they reveal their composition. These are all guys who were on the map to begin with. They reveal the composition of their forces, and so we can see that, but we kind of knew that at the beginning of the game. Now battles, we go to paragraph 11.2 for battle. Now what we're going to be doing here is the skirmish procedure, but we have to do the first two parts first, designate the attacking and defending. We're stuck with that. We both have one command. I don't have the ability to flee into the town. It's not a fortified location. So we determine the fighting force. Both sides have we only have one Capitano in each case. We determine which is the larger force. Okay, that is going to be Chaumont. Then execute the attack by revealing the force quality and the number of strength points in each force. Okay. Force quality for this is going to be 2 because 2/3 of his force is quality 2. And I think I can get rid of these, but let's see. Naldi is force quality 1. Okay. Artillery strength points are not included in the odds. Roll a die and we see what happens. Okay, so we go to the assault table. Our force quality differential, the attackers are 2, the defenders are 1. That's going to put us on the +1. Are we in affecting terrain? We are in... there's some of that dark green crap. I think that's some woods. I think this is woods in... same as marsh and affecting. Heavy cav is going to be halved on both sides. I'm going to have to look at the map, to the instructions on the map in the rule book, because this doesn't, I'm sorry, not that one. This doesn't really look very heavily wooded, but I think if there's any of the terrain in there, it counts as it, or any significant amount, that counts as actually woods. The statement that the terrain has been conformed to the hex grid, which to me means if there's any significant amount in there, it counts against it counts as the terrain of the hex. So yeah, we're going to be in affecting terrain, and we have that heavy cav penalty there. So +1 in affecting terrain means we're going to be in this column. And now, SP ratio. So these are heavy cav down here. So that's half. So we have 12, 15 strength points there. And you know what? I'm going to... yeah, I don't think I need it here. I was going to grab a calculator. 15 to 1. So that's going to give me 4 to 1 or more, which says I'm going to have a +2 die roll modifier. How about leadership? Neither leader, I think, has a bonus. Weather, there's going to be a -1 due to the mud. That puts us down to +1. Landsknecht and Swiss infantry are not here. This is not an in-breach attack. Applied if one of these forces... see, I don't know. I don't know if these all apply, or if they only apply in a Landsknecht or Swiss infantry effect. Oh gosh, I would say the first two are the Landsknecht and Swiss infantry, but I'm not sure. There's an asterisk, which doesn't seem to lead to anything. I think we'll have to look at the rules and see how that's described in them. I think describe what's on the charts a little better in the rules. That all appears to just be the Landsknecht Swiss infantry effect. But we have to worry about other possible effects which aren't on the assault table. So Chaumont has firearms, but he's attacking. Naldi does not. And we don't have any of these other special types. So what were we at? We're on the +1 affecting at +1, I think. And I guess we just roll a die. And the top is the attacker, I guess? Yeah. Okay, +1 means we're on 6, and we coordinate to here. And it looks to me like the attacker gets away with 2 dashes, which I assume is nothing. I don't know what those asterisks are for. Crap. You know, I tried to look that. It's not in the rules. I don't know. This modifier supersedes the case star above. Okay, that's why. There's things that have different effects. These are listed early. So I've got a 1D on the defending force. And the losses are strength points lost and 1 combat unit demoralized. Well, there's only 1 strength point here on Naldi, isn't there? So he's destroyed, and now we have to see what happens to the Capitani. Because he's just been wiped out, basically. You know, they call this an index. It's really a table of contents, not an index. I like an index better, but I was able to find what I needed. It's the elimination of Capitani, which says, hey, the Capitani's eliminated by this. Now, I have the option of doing a couple of things here, but I don't know how much I care about this. Well, let's see how he got killed. Or taken out. He was killed with a pike. So somebody hit him over the head with a fish. And that means Naldi is off and gone. Well, that was pretty quick. And now we're able to just march right in there. We'll take this with us. And this is now French. Well, this was pro-French territory, so I'm not going to put a conquer marker. They've gotten this town back, and this is one of the 4 I think they have to take. I think these are symbols where there were battles, right? Not marked on the thing, I would guess so. This craft can all go away. Let's see where we are in the battle phase. Somewhere there was a summary of all the battle. I'm looking for the skirmish steps. I remember it was here after the battle, but I mean, here's the rules on the skirmish itself, but I'm looking for the one place where everything's kind of, there we go. Yeah, well, at the end of the rules entirely. Not what I remembered. So there would be a potential of a retreat. We have an advance if we wish to do so. We did. And that is the end of the combat part of the phase. Now this is the combat and attrition phase. So now we have an attrition segment, and we have to worry about anyone under zone of control, siege, in a hostile region, or barren or unhealthy land. I don't think anybody's in any of those circumstances. Oh, this guy is in a barren or unhealthy land. Oops. He would have been anyway, though. Is anyone else? I don't think anyone else is. So those are the only conditions we check attrition for? Really? Okay, I guess so. I thought everybody checked attrition at the end of the turn. I'm not sure why I went into quarters if I don't have to roll the attrition table. I'm gonna check to make sure that that's correct. That seems unbelievable to me. Okay, one or more of the following conditions. Hostile region. Okay. Well, we have some hostile regions, actually. Vitelli's in a hostile region, so he's going to check. That one was listed there. Barren or unhealthy land. This guy's going to have to make a check. You know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these markers from the guys who are not affected. Okay. Wonder what region he's in. PP, which I think is non-affected in this scenario. I don't know. So we flip back to where the scenarios are. One problem with games that coordinate the scenarios in the same place. PP is not aligned. So I don't know what we were doing down here, but we have like no right to be there. Enemy zone of control or under siege. It doesn't look like you have to be in any kind of supply status or anything like, you know, line of communication to worry about this. So let's take a look at the guys who are there. Up here, he's in a hostile region actually. Leader bonus, this is Vitelli. He has no bonus marker. Weather +1 for rain, or for yuck. I'm sorry. Oh, applicable during a trip. Oh, always applicable. Besiege quarters interface. Okay, so we have a +1 for the mud, and I don't think we're very big. We're size 3. +1's not going to hurt us, so I can take the marker off him. He didn't actually move. I just had that on him. Now he's in a barren land. Weather gives him a +1. He doesn't have a leadership bonus here. This is Alviando. He has a lot of troops with him. 6 and 16 is 22, so he has a chance of getting hit. Barren land has an asterisk. Okay. All right. So it looks to me like I'm just at +1 here. So a 4 or higher is going to hurt me. And I get a 5, which goes to a 6, which says I think I lose a strength point. And what do I want to lose? Well, I want to lose it off my kind of questionable Italian units. And they're sensitive, so they just really have nothing going for them. They're too sensitive to be fighting. They're going home. Okay. And now, and we'll go in a lot less detail because I'm still going to be flipping through the rule book, but you know, I don't want to show you that side of things throughout. Did the game end due to victory? No, it didn't, but I'm not sure what victory is. I thought it was just at the end of the game, but it may not. There may be something that triggers the end of the game. Yeah, it looks like it's at the end of the scenario, so we don't have any kind of auto victory here. And then we just move the turn marker forward to turn 5. I'll put my dice up there to remind me that I finished the turn, and we'll load this one up. We'll get a bit of more flavor. I'll zoom in when something interesting happens, like certainly if there's a major battle, we'll do that. But otherwise, I'll try to hit more the narrative of the game rather than going into the mechanisms of play. I think I've captured a lot of that here. Yeah, it's a bumpy ride. Yes, I was grumpy as hell. I always am when I'm learning new things. And up this one goes.